hope you managed to go through your homework from lesson 2 before you begin with this lesson. If not, I suggest you stop the video and download the homework first before continuing. That way you'll not fall behind or fail to understand the contents of the following videos. So how many climate skeptics does it take to change a light bulb? The answer is none, but they do have consensus that it will change. This is an amazing journey of discovery. There is so much information that we are bombarded with day after day. We have so much to learn. I don't know about you, but I'm blown away on a daily basis as to how much damage our earth is taking. And she still is able to give us gifts of flowers, trees, insects, birds, animals, rivers, and beauty that is so awe-inspiring and breathtaking. This process of information gathering and learning how to make your footprint a little lighter and to start paying attention to living kinder to your environment is such a privilege. And I trust that with all the information we have shared with you in the previous 2 lessons, that you will enjoy the next step in changing your lifestyle and in turn changing your community, your country and your world. On our website, eco-analysts.co.za, you can download a PDF document called The 7 Sins of Greenwashing, which was compiled to discourage greenwashing by putting practical tools in the hands of consumers and companies while still encouraging and rewarding genuine efforts towards sustainable innovation. Wikipedia says this about greenwashing. It is a term describing the deceptive use of PR or green marketing in order to promote a misleading perception that a company's policies or products, such as goods or services, are environmentally friendly. The term green sheen has similarly been used to describe organizations that attempt to show that they are adopting practices beneficial to the environment. Another article for download from our website is the I Buy Eco advert that we have scanned for you. Here is a very clear case of greenwashing. Let's have a look at it together at some points that we see as a perfect example of spin or greenwashing as it's known. Firstly, this advertisement appeared in a South African magazine called Simply Green for green products. The company name even contains the word eco, which is done to convince you to buy their green products and offerings. Green grass is not an eco-friendly commodity as it absorbs so much water and takes much of the necessary nutrients out of the soil. It's also naive to think of grass as being eco-friendly. The motto, grass is greener. How much more green can grass be? Carbon conscious cover is a catchphrase with very little meaning. Here they are playing with your emotions. And by SMSing the word green, it's also pure greenwashing. They mentioned 2%, which is an extremely low amount. Individuals and companies should be aiming at much higher percentages to avoid the wrath of climate change. By supporting I Buy Eco, you will offset some of your emissions. This is not acceptable. We need to reduce, not offset. And when we do offset, we need to offset the total amount, not some of it. This is absolutely false advertising, aimed at creating a good feeling instead of being active against what they say, climate change. A green trust supporting eco causes, it's a very vague indication of really making a difference to the environment. There is not a clear sign of information over here. And also, they do not mention which eco causes they are supporting. Maybe it is the reduction of the carbon footprint of the individual owners of the company. Have you ever thought of that? In lesson 4, we will learn how to perform those very important calculations for converting the data that you have researched and gathered and enter it into a system that will give you so much valuable and often shocking information on how huge your carbon footprint actually is. And of course, what a huge impact you are making on this sensitive planet. It's all part of confronting our role in sustainability and learning how to make simple changes that will lessen our imprint and hopefully inspire others to do the same. A carbon footprint calculation needs to embrace the following very important 5 aspects. Firstly, relevance. You need to ensure that the greenhouse gas inventory appropriately reflects the GHG emissions of all your activities. Secondly is completeness. You must account for and report on all GHG emission sources and activities within the chosen inventory boundaries. Thirdly, there's consistency. Use consistent methodologies to allow for meaningful comparisons of emissions over time. Fourthly, there's transparency. Address all relevant issues in a factual and coherent manner, based on a clear audit trail. The last one is accuracy. Ensure that the quantifications of GHG emissions is systematically neither over nor under your actual emissions, and that uncertainties are reduced as far as practical. There are 2 ways in which to calculate your carbon footprint. The first method is to use an online calculator or for someone else to do your calculation for you. The other method is to do it yourself manually or in a spreadsheet on a computer. I'm going to use our online calculator to determine my footprints for the year 2009 and 2010, as they are very easy and the calculator covers all aspects of my yearly emissions. But let's firstly discuss how to do a footprint manually with only a calculator, a pen and some paper. The formula is as follows. GHG emissions equals activity data times GHG emission factor. In the formula, you can see that to determine the amount of greenhouse gases released by a certain activity, we need to know how much and the emission factor of that activity. Let's take electricity and fuel usage as our example now. For me to find out the total electricity usage in my home, I asked my electrician, who knew my prepaid meter, and how I could get hold of the company who owned and installed it. I went to their offices and asked them for a printout of my past usage, which they emailed to me. Another way to get this information is to keep all your slips when you purchase electricity and add them all up at the end of the year. You could also pay with a debit or credit card that you can get the amounts purchased directly from your bank statements. As long as you know to keep all your receipts for future calculations, then you'll be okay. Now, from the Eskom annual report for 2010, I downloaded it from their website, and on page 299, under the heading Environmental Implications, it states that carbon dioxide emissions were at 1.03 kilograms per kilowatt hour used for that year. Just as a little note, it was 1.03 in 2009, 1.0 in 2008, and 0.958 during 2007. This means that Eskom is not only producing more and more electricity each year to meet our needs, but the way they are doing it is more and more harmful to the environment as the years go by. For your petrol and diesel, you could also keep all the receipts when you purchase petrol. Or you could have a garage card that you pay for fuel and get the data from your bank statements. You could also just keep a logbook in the car and fill it in every time you purchase fuel. Due to the fact that the fuel prices around the world fluctuate, it's better to document the amount of fuel used in liters or gallons instead of the value of the fuel purchased. Another method for determining your yearly usage of fuel is to take a reading from the odometer or trip counter in your vehicle at the beginning and the end of the year, and then find out the efficiency of your vehicle from the dealership that sells your type of vehicle. This way, you can divide the amount of kilometers or miles you covered by the efficiency factor to find out the number of liters you used. You might even have a couple of ideas of your own on how to gather fuel data for your calculation. Once you have the information, you need then to apply it to the calculation. Let's say you used 5,000 kilowatts of electricity for the year. And from the Eskom report, we know that the emission factor for 2010 was 1.03. Our calculation now reads GHG emissions equals activity data times GHG emission factor. Therefore, GHG emissions equals 5,000 times 1.03. Therefore, greenhouse gas emissions equals 5,150 tons of CO2 equivalent. Once you have calculated all your activities, greenhouse gas emissions together, you will have your total carbon footprint for the year. And that is how easy it is. Nothing more and nothing less. I would like you to remember that the whole idea behind measuring your footprint is to reduce. So if the emission factor you are using is not the exact one, but the best one you could get, then that is okay, because you will use that same one again next year, so that you are comparing apples with apples. I am going to calculate my 2009 and 2010 footprints using the calculator on our website, and I would like you to do the same after you have watched this lesson. For my calculations, I will start on the 1st of July and end on the 30th of June. During the 2 years of my calculation, I lived in a freestanding house in the town of George in Eden, South Africa. When I moved in, I had a swimming pool built, and I did some other minor alterations. In South Africa, there are two methods of paying for your electricity. One is a prepaid system, which I had, and the other is to have an account, and then you only pay for your usage after you receive your invoice. This method is known in South Africa as conventional. As the climate in Eden is very moderate, hardly any of the houses have double glazed windows or proper insulation. My house had tiles in the lounge and no insulation in the ceiling when I bought it. So I had to warm my house up in the winter months with liquid petroleum gas, or LPG, as it is more commonly known. I had to take the cylinders down to the local gas station, where they were empty, and swap them for full ones. In the summer months, when I got really hot, I had a small electric fan to keep me cool. The price of electricity in South Africa was one of the cheapest anywhere in the world 3 years ago, so nobody really cared how much they used. Since 2008, our provider Eskom did not have enough power generation capacity, and we had blackouts throughout the country. They relooked at their business and realized they needed to build more power stations with money they did not have. So naturally, the prices have more than doubled in the past 3 years. They have also promised us more increases in the years to come. So in reducing your electrical usage to reduce your carbon footprint, you'll be saving money. It was then that I decided to figure out a way to escape this increase for a while. You see, when you buy electricity for your prepaid meter, you buy units of electricity, and you get a number to key into your prepaid unit to activate these units. So if you buy 100 rands worth of electricity and get, say, 240 units or kilowatts, when the price goes up, you pay more for the same amount of units. If you pause the video, you can see on the screen behind me that every time just before the price went up, I bought a lot of units to avoid the price increase for a while. I saved a lot of money by doing this. Please go and watch our free module entitled Legally Free Electricity to learn more about this concept. I had 2 cars and a motorbike on the 1st of July 2008. A Land Rover Freelander 1800cc. It's a petrol 4x4 I bought new in 2005. I owned a farm before I bought my house in George, and the access roads were all gravel that was not graded often. That is why I decided to buy a Mitsubishi Colt 2-litre petrol bucky, or pickup truck as they are more commonly known. My main pastime was renovating 8 houses I purchased from the profits of the sale of my farm. So I used it to transport building material from one side to another. I also bought a Yamaha 200cc motorbike for short trips around the farm and to go down to the shops for bread and milk. During this time, I decided to get my motorbike license, as I knew I would be using it a lot more in the future, as petrol prices were already soaring around the world. Secondary emissions are another aspect of monitoring your carbon footprint. This includes the food we eat, if it's locally produced, transported, organic, packaging of all our products, fashion that we choose to buy and wear, how we recycle, etc. Here we look at the choices we make in all other aspects of our lives that also have an impact on our carbon footprint. We are going to look at this step by step to see how much these items impact our calculation. First of all, red meat. Beef and lamb has the largest carbon footprint because producing a unit of beef or lamb, a ton, a kilogram, or whatever unit, contributes about 4 times more CO2 than producing an equal amount of pork, turkey, or chicken. Producing pork contributes slightly more CO2 than chicken and turkey. Eggs, a compact source of protein, produce about half as much CO2 as beef or lamb. Last, and in this case least, raising fish contributes a little more than half the CO2 of producing either chicken or turkey. It's quite alarming when you realize that the red meat we eat really impacts heavily on our carbon footprint. Making choices to buy local, to buy as much organic as possible, and to try growing your own food makes a big difference to your carbon footprint. And the taste of fresh, seasonal, local food is so much nicer. Buying new clothes only when you need them, and the less packaging the better. These 2 choices make a difference to your carbon footprint. Furniture and equipment that we buy impacts our carbon footprint, so only buying what we really need makes us tread lighter. Choosing to recycle everything and producing far less waste impacts hugely on our carbon footprint. And it's wonderful to use everything to its full capacity. You feel so much more empowered. There are so many companies and artists who are creating functional and beautiful things from waste and recycled items. Driving cars and having many bank accounts add to your carbon footprint, as does our recreational activities. So we are aware that everything we do in these days contribute to our impact on the earth and contribute to our carbon footprint. We are now compelled to make informed and aware choices in everything that we do. This will help to make a difference and reduce our carbon footprint. When we heal the earth, we heal ourselves, is what David Orr once said. Thank you for your time. Until next time, remember to keep yourself informed and make inspired choices. Bye-bye now.